absolutely wrong. Lewis Hamilton is the world champion.
Imagine fighting for a world championship, everything's on the line, and losing it by just 1 point. Then 17 years later, you walk into a courtroom, not a racetrack, and say, the result was unfair. I should have been the champion. That's exactly where Felipe Massa finds himself right now in late 2025. And if you think that there's no comeback story in Formula One lawfare, you're about to change your mind. What's up, guys? My name is Mars and welcome back to the channel. Let's go back to 2008 real quick. Formula One was locked in an epic battle. Felipe Massa, driving for a Scuderia Ferrari, was locked in a duel with Lewis Hamilton of McLaren. The season ended in Brazil when Hamilton overtook Toyota's Timo Glock on the final lap of the final race to take 5th place and win the championship by just 1 point. We're talking 98 points to 97 points. Felipe Massa had won the Brazilian GP and truly believed that the title was his, but Hamilton's last corner pass changed history. Crucially, earlier in that season, at the first ever night race in Formula One, the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, Massa had taken pole and was leading. Then things went horribly wrong for him. This race is central to our story today. Here's the little secret about Singapore. On board the Marina Bay Street Circuit, Massa was leading. Meanwhile, his rival team, Renault, had driven Nelson Piquet Jr. to crash deliberately, on purpose. On lap 14, Piquet hit the wall, which triggered a safety car. And you may be asking yourself, why would a rival team do this? And that's because his teammate at that time, Fernando Alonso, had pitted early and the safety car bunched up the field, so he gained a huge advantage. He went on to win that race. Massa's Ferrari then messed up big time in the pit stop under the safety car. He drove off with the fuel hose still attached, knocked a crew member over, fell behind, and ended up finishing 13th with 0 points. But later in 2009, Piquet publicly admitted he had been instructed by team bosses to crash on purpose. If you accept that the crash was deliberate and manipulated the race outcome, then a case can be made that Massa's championship chances were truly stolen, and this is what he's arguing in court. I'm not taking sides here, I'm telling you the story of what's confirmed so far. So if we fast forward to 2024, Massa officially filed a lawsuit in the London High Court, naming 3 defendants: the FIA, the FOM, and the former Supremo, Bernie Ecclestone. He seeks 2 things: a declaration that he should have been the 2008 world champion because Singapore result was manipulated and not properly dealt with, financial damages estimated at around 64 million pounds, that equals to about 80 to 85 million US dollars, plus interest. He's talking about losses from sponsorships, salary, world champion status, and among many other things that come with that title. In October of 2025, the case opens with hearings in London. On the opening day, the defendants literally asked the court to throw it out. But this is what Massa's team argues. They say the crash was deliberate and known to senior figures, Ecclestone and FIA president Max Mosley. In 2008, the governing body, the FIA, breached its own regulations by failing to investigate promptly or cancel the Singapore result. If the result had been cancelled or adjusted, Hamilton's point tally would have been fewer and Massa would have been champion that year. The passage of time shouldn't block justice. Massa claims that he only fully appreciated the grounds for legal action when Ecclestone's 2023 interview surfaced. They're framing this as more than a personal grievance. They are saying this is a challenge to the integrity of the sport. But this is what the defense argues and why this is messy. Here's where things get real. The defense, the FIA, the FOM, and Ecclestone argue that the claim is time barred. Massa should have known long ago. You can't sit on this for 17 years. Even if the crash was deliberate, Massa's own errors cost him the race and thus the championship. For example, they give the pit stop blunder in Singapore, strategy issues, etc. Courts are not sports debates clubs. They shouldn't be rewriting championship results from nearly 2 decades ago. It's a counterfactual exercise, they claim. The remedy sought, changing the title or awarding one, would unfairly impact Lewis Hamilton, who is not a defendant. So in short, yes, the allegations are huge, but converting them into a legal outcome is extremely complex. But let's talk about why this matters nowadays and why you should care about this. Okay, so beyond the drama, because I don't want to make a drama video, I'm just telling you what's going on. What's actually at stake here? One of the main points is legacy. Massa's career never included an F1 driver's championship. If he succeeds, he retroactively changes how we view his legacy and that of Hamilton's. Of course, it won't be the same as an actual championship won on the spot, but if you believe that Massa is right, then he's being served justice. And even if you agree with the FIA, he's still getting his championship title. The next one is sporting integrity. If governing bodies are legally exposed for failing to act when cheating occurred, that opens the door for many other claims in the sport, and this is what the FIA is worried about. And because of that, the next point is precedent, because much of the law is based on previous actions and judgments. Will this become a blueprint for athletes who feel wronged by results that happened long ago, or will the court say, no, too complex, too late, we're discarding this one? So let's refresh on the timeline so you can get a better picture of what actually happened. On September 28th of 2008, at the Singapore GP, Nelson Piquet Jr. crashes, we get a safety car, and Massa's lead completely vanishes. On November 2nd of 2008, at the Brazilian GP, Massa wins, but Hamilton overtakes in final corner to clinch the title by just 1 point by getting 5th place. On July of 2009, Piquet Jr. admits he crashed deliberately on order at Renault, which caused all of this drama around this issue. On March 11th of 2024, this is 15 years later, Massa files a lawsuit in the London High Court against the FIA, the FOM, and Ecclestone. And just a couple of days ago, on the 29th and 30th of October, we had the first open hearing, and defendants argued that the case should be struck out. And in my honest opinion, here's how I see it. On one hand, we have Felipe Massa, who claims he has moral weight. If you believe that our sport demands fairness, and I think it does, then a deliberate crash and a cover-up by those running the show means something is rotten. But on the other hand, sports are messy. Mistakes happen, luck happens. Massa's errors in Singapore were real. Even if the crash hadn't happened, there's no guarantee he would have magically become champion here. So there's definitely a defense for both sides on this point. And legally, I think this is very uphill for Felipe, even if he's right. Asking a court to retroactively change a world championship almost 20 years ago feels like rewriting history. So yes, Felipe Massa's fight matters. It's bold, but I don't expect a clear win. More likely a settlement or a finding that acknowledges wrongdoing, but doesn't actually hand him the title. And that outcome still shakes things up and is going to cause some issues. So here's what's next in this case and what you should watch for. The judge will decide if the case proceeds to the full trial or gets dismissed on preliminaries. If it does proceed, then discovery could expose internal F1 documents, emails, and conversions, which are massive for sports governance. But if it fails, it still sends a message. Athletes might bring historic claims and governing bodies will be on notice from now on. For you and I watching this, we have a really big situation happening right now because Lewis Hamilton is kind of like on the receiving end on this, but his team, Ferrari, was Felipe's team at that time. So of course, I'll keep you posted on any of this if we get any new information. But now it's your turn. Do you think that Massa should have been the 2008 champion, or do you believe the effort to go through a court is misguided? Let me know your thoughts below, and let me know also if you think that a driver who was genuinely cheated should be able to rewrite a title, or we should leave that in the past with history as it is. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you're new around here, you can click right here to subscribe to this channel, and you can watch one of these 2 videos that I created just for you right after this one. Until next time.